Hello everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm a recorder player. So as I film this video, my tutorial on trills has just gone up on YouTube. I think you probably have more than enough to be practicing for the next couple of weeks. And as you watch this video, I'm going to be in England on tour with the Royal Wind Music. It's a bit of a busy time, so I thought instead of giving you loads of more information, I would do a non-tutorial type video. Today I'm going to tell you about my 5 biggest on-stage disasters. Now I can assure you, as a professional musician, you will have disasters on stage. It's just part of the job. Any musician who tells you that they are perfect 100% all of the time is some kind of robot. And personally, I don't think the goal is perfection. If you're trying to be absolutely perfect, then in my feeling, that's gonna cramp you in, where you're gonna be scared of making mistakes and you're just gonna end up feeling like, Argh. My philosophy is to be as well prepared as you possibly can be, but if something goes wrong on stage, how are you going to deal with it? A couple of months ago, I got to talk to some members of the Concerto Orchestra in Amsterdam for a magazine online called Prime Phonic, and you can read the article here. And I was talking to them about things that had gone wrong on stage, and I was really surprised with how candid they were about the stories of their disasters. And these are people who are members of one of the greatest orchestras in the world. So I think no matter if you are an amateur musician or a professional, it's okay to make mistakes. They just make for good stories later. Number 1. My first real big on-stage disaster was actually during my end exam of my bachelor's in England at the Birmingham Conservatoire. I was very nervous. Actually, my whole exam went really well until we got to the last piece. The last piece was the Vivaldi concerto in C major, number 443. And I was playing this with a whole continuo section, strings, the whole lot from memory. And this was the first time of all of this for me. And we started playing very famous tutti opening section, and it has this motif, really well sung there, and that happens a number of times after one another, each time moving up a step, and somehow I got one step ahead. So like the strings were playing G and then I was playing A, and they moved to G but I moved to B, and then they moved to B but I moved to C, and all I could see was their faces looking at me going. And I was like, I am gonna try and play along with the recording to give you an impression of what this sounded like. And yes, I know that this concerto is normally played on the sopranino. I wanted to play it on the alto for some reason. By the end of that short tutti section, I got back in, I continued, it was fine. There were no more memory lapses for the rest of the whole concerto, but that short space of about 4 bars was enough to give me a trauma about Vivaldi for at least a month. Number 2. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm living in Amsterdam and taking part in a really cool new arrangement of Mozart's The Magic Flute. And this was set in 1920s New York, and we replaced the orchestra with a piano and a double bass, a bassoon, a clarinet, and a recorder, and a pan flute. The singers were fantastic, the direction was really good, the conductor was brilliant, it was her project, but this small group of second-year music students, we could not play in tune. If you're wondering how this was arranged, the recorder and the pan flute were playing the 2 flute parts. So we come to opening night, and remember, the Magic Flute is absolutely iconic. All the people that came to listen knew exactly how it was supposed to sound. And unsurprisingly, I'm a recorder player. I had never played this opera before. So we started a bit out of tune, but you know, we soldiered on. And about halfway through the overture, I turned my page and The last 2 pages of my score were just not there. I have no idea what happened to them. They just were not there. And no, I hadn't memorised this part. So what do you do for 2 whole pages of Mozart? Delightful improvisation on 1 and maybe 2 notes. I just remember there was this man sitting in the front row of the audience just looking at me like, I think he was a big fan of this opera and I think I killed it for him. Needless to say, I learned from this. Always triple and quadruple check your music before you go on stage. Number 3. Number 3 proves that things can go wrong no matter how prepared you are. With my trio Axolot, we play this beautiful medieval canon called Le Ré au Soleil by Johannes Ciconia. And we all play the same line. Now, how we've arranged it is that José in my trio, she begins and she plays this beautiful, beautiful melodic line 2 or 3 times just on her own and the audience just go, and then I join in. Same recorder, same pictures, it should sound the same. So she was playing for a good 2 minutes. I pick up my recorder and now we were all performing this piece on instruments in G. And without noticing, I had picked up a recorder in F. We were meant to be playing the same notes, but I was a tone lower. Now, I don't know if you can imagine what it sounds like, but it's something similar to... Not the effect we were going for. So after a bar, we were looking at each other like... I calmly pretended nothing was wrong, put down my instrument in F, picked up the correct instrument in G and went to start playing again. Whereupon José thought, oh, I'll help Sarah, and she started transposing everything a tone down. So now we were doing the same thing but the other way around. Upon which point there was nothing for it. We just stopped and we explained to the audience what had happened, and we were like, maybe it's interesting to know. Recorders come in all different keys, and we actually used it as a learning experience for our audience. They laughed, they enjoyed it, and we started the piece again and it went really fine. Number 4. Contemporary music. I play a lot of contemporary music and music with live electronics. And in this particular piece, it was called Quartz, Stalagnat by Marco Ciciliani. And this is a piece, it's very theatrical. You play the recorder, but you have bowls of water, you have candles that you have to light. And in this piece, I'm wearing like a headset microphone, and that is taking in everything that I'm playing and processing, so there were a lot of effects on my live sound. And I had spent months preparing this piece. I had coded the electronics myself. I had spent so long preparing for it. Finally, the performance came, my first performance of it. Now, the piece starts almost in darkness, with almost a full 2 minutes of theatrical things. So I come in, set an atmosphere, I light some candles, and then drip some water, and you hear the sounds. It really takes a while. And then as I went to play, I realised that I was so preoccupied before going on stage that I had completely forgotten to put on my microphone. This was a piece with live electronics, without the live electronics. All of those months of work I had put into preparing them, God. Now at this point I had a choice. I could have stopped and been like, sorry everybody, I forgot my microphone, I'll start again. But I was so far into the piece already, it would have just ruined it. So I continued This is a 15-minute long piece and I have performed it with a large part of the piece missing, but I did my best. I played all of those notes, I dripped all of the candles and dripped all of the water. And the end, so I was coming to the end of the piece, and this involves a lot of electronics as well, which weren't there. I was thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I realised I'm standing with a large bowl of water and I am not wearing my electronics. At the end of the piece, I thought, I picked up the bowl of water and went, it was great. And my teacher was also there watching the performance, and he came up afterwards and was like, oh, you made the best out of a bad situation. Preparation is everything. Number 5. Now, as I said before, my nerves don't often get the better of me. Actually, I don't really get nervous on stage anymore. I perform a lot. It's just part of my job. And to be honest, on stage, I usually just feel great. But I'm still a human being. And very recently, my nerves got the better of me. I play and sing in a band called Jerboah. And in August, we were invited to come and perform live on the radio here in the Netherlands. So we went there like, yeah! We were actually performing live, lots of people watching us, whilst being broadcast live on air. However, I haven't been singing in public for very long, and we were performing a song where I do a lot of a cappella, but it just so happened that the girl that went before us is like this kind of teenage prodigy superstar soprano, and she sang and was just incredible. And then right after was me going. So we get on stage and I can sing pretty low, so I have the lowest voice, and it was this part that's meant to be really strong. And the thing is, I haven't quite learned how to really support my singing voice or how to deal with nerves, and I just kind of went, ah! And I did an impression of a braying donkey.
I wish I had the power to set them all free.
Didn't feel good. To be honest, I listened back to it later and it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought, but as I stood there on stage, facing all of these people, convinced that they were thinking, what the hell is she doing? But that's it, you know, most of your nerves are actually inside your own head, and those people were probably just thinking, I want a sandwich. And I actually have a bonus round for you. This one didn't happen on stage, but it definitely qualifies as a musical disaster. I've already told the story of how I became a recorder player. And those of you who have seen that video will know that age 18, I arrived at the conservatorium and started having my first proper recorder lessons. Now, after being a music student for a grand total of 3 months, right at the very beginning, I broke my thumb. Now, how did I do this? There may have been some alcohol involved. I got back to our student flat and I tried to sit down on the bed, and I kind of sat down very heavily and I put my hand out behind me to catch my fall, and I landed on my thumb and went. Let's just say at the time I wasn't alone, and I didn't want to spoil the atmosphere, so I didn't say anything. And in the morning I woke up and my thumb was massive and swollen, and I was like, I think my thumb is broken. And the other person said to me, why didn't you say anything last night? So yeah, we went to the hospital. Great, it's broken. I had to have like a whole thing on my arm and hand, and I couldn't play the recorder for 2 months. So I went to my new teacher and was like, sorry. But we got around it. Actually, after not such a long period of time, I could play the soprano recorder. That was light enough to be able to support on this thumb. So I played lots of Van Eyck and lots of San Martini. So those were my biggest musical disasters. I would really love to hear yours. Please leave them in the comments under this YouTube video. Share your stories, because after all, we're only human. Disasters happen to the best of us. I guarantee it. Thank you for watching my video. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, Teen Recorder, please do so by clicking the swan. What noise do swans make? Have a great day and see you next week. Bye!